Many happy faces today, and it looks like the sun is coming out the back door, which always makes me happy. I'm Kate Tracy, the Senior Associate Dean for Research here in the Lerner College of Medicine, and Dean Page is currently out of town, so I have the honor of hosting today's event, and I'm thrilled to be here with all of you and to welcome, we have online also, to welcome everyone who's online as well. I would like to thank all of you for joining us today for this very special event, our 5th annual celebration of gender equity in medicine and science. I'd like to take just a brief moment to remind you of the history of this initiative. The Gender Equity Initiative at Lerner went public in September of 2019 with an initial town hall to showcase our community's commitment to gender equity in medicine and science. Just days after the town hall, Dean Page joined the Dean of the College of Nursing and Health Sciences in the Hale Gallery to come together as official signatories to Time's Up Healthcare. And with that pledge, we joined dozens of other hospitals and schools across the country to formally denounce sexual harassment and gender inequity and commit to protecting those that are targeted and to tracking the scope of the problem. Our inaugural celebration was held in March of 2020, and our Gender Equity Steering Committee has since been hard at work and brought us a gender equity education series every semester over the past few years, exploring the work of building a just, equal, diverse, and inclusive environment. Today's session continues that tradition, and I am delighted to welcome Dr. Debora Kamin Mukaz. Great to see you. Round of applause. Assistant Professor of Medicine here at the Lerner College of Medicine. Debora also is kind enough to serve on my Research Advisory Council, so thank you for that as well. Round of applause for that. Service to the college, service to the Dean for Research. I'm also really pleased that we'll be recognizing several members of our Lerner community with this year's Gender Equity Awards, drawn from dozens of worthy nominees. It's a real affirmation of the depth of talent and strength in our community and the community's commitment to gender equity. Gender equity at Lerner has been propelled by the energetic work of members of our Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. Where are our ODEI folks? Round of applause for ODEI. To our Gender Equity Steering Committee and Dr. Ann Doherty and her leadership of that committee. Other committee members here as well? Round of applause to our steering committee. Fantastic. Dr. Doherty is a professor of obstetrics, gynecology, and reproductive sciences, and she is the director of gender equity in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And this great group has brought exceptional energy and thoughtfulness to bear on the issue of gender equity here and across the medical college. So it is with my great pleasure that I will now turn the stage over to Dr. Doherty.
How about now?
Yes.
Just have to turn it on and turn it off. That's what my husband always tells me. So good afternoon and welcome everyone to the celebration of gender equity in medicine and science, our 5th annual. Thank you so much, Dean Tracy, for lending your support for this celebration, for supporting gender equity, and for representing our college leadership. We appreciate all of that. The celebration of gender equity is held during Women's History Month each year, and it's appropriate that International Women's Day is tomorrow. And in a world striving for excellence, it's critical that gender inclusivity be central to that conversation. And today we celebrate all genders, particularly women and gender diverse identities, and understand the intersection of multiple identities adds extra layers of challenge. And our keynote speaker today will talk much more in depth about that. As Dean Tracy mentioned, the Gender Equity Initiative began 5 years ago and has incrementally taken root thanks to all of you and your efforts in your own spheres of influence, as well as the commitment from our leadership, particularly Dean Page. Additionally, over the past 5 years, the Gender Equity Steering Committee has worked hard and provided critical guidance to the Gender Equity Initiative. So I'm going to read off the names of the current members of the steering committee or related working groups to give them the recognition that they deserve. Joe Conant, Leanne Holterman, Bridget Mariquin, I think I saw here, Ramsey Harrington, Sherry Kadanga, James Stafford, Katie Wells, Pam Gibson, Natalie Feldman, Jen Hall, Molly Berry, and Eileen Chakosky Kelly. And thank you to all of you for showing up and doing the work. I really, really appreciate it. In the past 5 years, the Gender Equity Initiative has held countless events through the Gender Equity Education Series. It's bestowed 30 honors on faculty, staff, and students through the Gender Equity Awards. Over 40 faculty have been part of the Women in Medicine and Science Peer Leadership Group. Some of your departments participated in a pilot of the Gender Equity Report Card, which was an effort to use data to measure equity within our college. And this was an incredibly laborious undertaking for those who participated. But the end result was that we were not only able to show that the data that came out was meaningful and actionable, but also that we needed centralized resources to be able to collect and analyze data effectively. Through this effort and in collaboration with our Office of Faculty, we were able to add a data analyst, a dedicated data analyst, Jessica Collins, to our team, who's working now with HR and IT to harmonize data streams in the college so that we can say more about where we are with respect to diversity and equity. And it's through this effort that we've been able to look at promotion data over a 10-year span, 5 years previous to the Gender Equity Initiative and 5 years following the initiative's inception. And we found some interesting results. We found that overall faculty members have increased and the gender gap overall in our faculty is closing. The good news is that all promotions, regardless of gender, have increased over time. However, or in addition, successful promotion for women, though decreasing over time compared to their representation on faculty prior to 2019, showed an overwhelmingly positive trend after 2019. Male faculty promotions during the time period also increased by numbers, and trends were positive or comparable to trends prior to and after the launch of the Gender Equity Initiative in 2019. So everyone is doing well. There are more promotions that are happening successfully, and the trajectory of promotions for women have increased dramatically over time since 2019. And these similar trends persisted across clinical, education, and research scholar pathways. The one place where we did see work to be done is on the tenure pathway for women. And so by taking data, we're able to see where we need to target our work, and that's positive. Well, I know it'd be foolhardy to assign exclusive causation to the Gender Equity Initiative. We are scientists. I do know that all of you have been part of a concerted effort beginning in 2019 with the launch of the Gender Equity Initiative to shine a light on gender equity and to look deeply at institutional culture. I'm positive of that. And over the last 5 years, you've all made changes within your units to support equity and inclusion. And it also goes without saying that support from leadership has been absolutely critical. So it's in this vein that we celebrate achievements and continue to push each other to do more. So before I introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, please allow me to address a few housekeeping issues or matters. If you're participating today remotely, a live captioning link is provided in the chat, which Tiffany is going to put in there now. And if you wish to stay informed about upcoming gender equity events, please join our listserv, which you can do by scanning the QR code or by clicking the link that Tiffany will put in the chart as well. So thank you for your attention. And without further delay, I'm going to welcome our keynote speaker. And I'm so excited about this talk today. It's a great honor that I introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Debora Kamin Mukaz. Dr. Kamin Mukaz, a molecular and social epidemiologist, brings a wealth of expertise to our gathering today. Her journey in the scientific realm began in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where her passion for STEM was nurtured by her father. She holds a bachelor's degree in biology and French from Luther College and a master's degree in biological sciences from the University of Delaware. Her PhD, also from the University of Delaware, was in medical sciences and focused on the epidemiology of acculturation and diabetes in African immigrants in the United States. Dr. Kamin Mukaz served as an American Heart Association-funded postdoctoral fellow here at the University of Vermont Larner College of Medicine. Under the mentorship of Dr. Mary Cushman, she delved into critical research areas focusing on racial and geographic inequities in cardiovascular and cardiometabolic diseases, as well as the impact of COVID-19. Her work is deeply rooted in some of the largest longitudinal studies in the United States. Currently, Dr. Kamin Mukaz serves as an assistant professor of medicine in the Department of Medicine, Division of Hematology Oncology here at the Larner College of Medicine. Beyond her scientific pursuits, Dr. Kamin Mukaz is the co-founder of Black in Cardio, a platform dedicated to promoting diversity and inclusion in cardiovascular research. Her commitment to bridging gaps and advocating for equity extends far beyond the laboratory, and we're so proud to have her on faculty with us and proud to have her today as our keynote speaker. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Debora Kamin Mukaz.
Thank you so much for this kind introduction. So my talk today will be on why intersectionality matters for life sciences and medicine. Before I get into the main topic of today's conversation, I wanted to talk a little bit about my background. I'm a firm believer in acknowledging our positionality. And I also want you to understand how my own intersectional marginalized identities shaped the person that I am today and shaped the scientist that I am today. So I was born in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Congo is the third largest country on the African continent, and arguably, it is the richest country in the world in terms of natural resources. And because it is a Black African country and because of its wealth, Congo's history was shaped by the transatlantic slave trade. Almost 40% of people who were enslaved on the African continent came from Congo or Angola, which is a neighboring country. And in my own family oral tradition, we talk about family members that were kidnapped and never seen again. And after the end of the transatlantic slave trade, Europe, because Africa was weakened, Europe decided to make their presence permanent. So at the end of the 19th century, Germany, or particularly the German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, decided to hold a conference at the request of the Belgian King Leopold II. And the goal of that conference was to really formalize colonization and formalize the partition of the African continent. And they did not care about families. They did not care about kingdoms. They did not care about societies on the continent. And after that, Leopold II became the sole owner of a country, the Congo. And it is an understatement when I say that his reign in the Congo was characterized by systemic violence and brutality. It is estimated that 1 to 15 million Congolese people died during that period. And because of that, and even for that period, it was extremely violent. So the Belgian government decided to take over, and for 50 years after Leopold II's reign, Congo was under the Belgian government. And colonization and the transatlantic slave trade really shaped the history of Congo and shaped the reality that is Congo today, and shaped the reality that my family and people and my friends and people like me lived under. So I am the firstborn of a family of 6. I was born in Katanga, the richest or one of the richest regions in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. When I was 3 or 4, my mother, my 2 siblings, and myself, we had to leave the country for a while without our father because the situation in Katanga was getting worse. And we eventually came back. But when I tell you that I don't have memories of peace and stability in Congo, it is the reality. But the thing is, Congolese exist in this dual reality. At the same time, I was born in a middle-class family. And because of that, my father and my mother, my family valued formal education. But Congo is a society that values, not unlike the United States, that values men over women. So my dreams, I was told and shown that my dreams were not valid. But fortunately for me, I had a father who believed that I should get an education. So because of that, I was able to escape the instability in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and escape the gendered violence at times in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Then I came to the United States. And my reality in the United States was very interesting. I recognized that academia gave me a lot, and I'm thankful for that. But grad school and undergrad were traumatic. I went through a lot, and my situation is not unique. In my own circle of Black women scientists, I do not know anyone who has not gone through traumatic experiences during their academic journeys. And the thing is, academia, this situation is not unique to academia. It extends to the healthcare system. As a Black woman, I have been dismissed in the healthcare system, especially when it comes to my reproductive health. And when it comes to Black women's biggest issue when it comes to health, the system is the problem. So this introduction really shows here that I exist at the intersection of multiple marginalized identities. I am woman, I am immigrant, I am Black, among other identities. And these identities, they are shaped by systems like sexism, anti-Black racism, nativism, that determine what rights and resources I have access to. So I talked about intersectional identities. What is intersectionality? So intersectionality is one of the many ways to understand how systems of oppression operate. It is a way of understanding and analyzing the complexity in the world, in people, and in human experiences. When it comes to social inequality, people's lives and organization of power in a given society are better understood as shaped not by a single axis of social division, like race, gender, or class, but many axes that work together and influence each other. Okay, I think we are missing a slide here. But what I wanted to say is that intersectionality was coined by Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw. But what we need to remember is that intersectionality predates Dr. Crenshaw's work. It comes from Black feminists and Black women's spaces. And because when we talk about intersectionality in academia, we think about it as this abstract term. It is not abstract. It comes from Black women's lived experiences. So it should be treated as such. So because intersectionality because the world is complex and because people are complex, intersectionality will be complex. And to guide you, I'm going to talk about a few concepts. So the first concept I'm going to talk about is intersecting marginalized identities. So when it comes to identities, they intersect with each other. For instance, I'm a Black woman, so I have a marginalized identity when it comes to gender. I have a marginalized identity when it comes to race or ethnicity. And there are marginalized identities when it comes to class, romantic orientation, ability, and sexuality. However, it is not the marginalized identities that create injustices, inequalities. What creates inequalities and injustices are systems of oppression. So what do I mean by systems of oppression? There's something wrong with this presentation, but what do I mean by systems of oppression? By systems of oppression, I mean things like racism, sexism, and classism. So when it comes to our understanding of systems of oppression, like intersectionality, they are complex, but you can categorize them into three, if you may. So you have individual oppression. When we talk about individual oppression, we are looking at interpersonal oppression. And interpersonal oppression is about discrimination and prejudice. Then you have internalized oppression. Internalized oppression deals with negative messages by members of a marginalized community. And then you have structural oppression. And structural oppression is the root cause of everything. It is about laws, policies, and rules, explicit and not explicit, that really shape the culture that we live in. So now that I've given you an overview of intersectionality, let's talk a little bit about limitations when it comes to intersectionality studies. So the first thing is, when it comes to intersectionality studies, what we see is that data is not disaggregated, is often not disaggregated by race and ethnicity. The other thing is this focus on gender binarism and a focus on cis women. So when we talk about intersectionality, oftentimes it is about cis women, and we don't look at gender diverse people. And the other thing is intersectionality studies don't go beyond race, gender, and socioeconomic status. And these limitations are very important when it comes to the definition or the significance or the way that intersectionality operates. When people think about intersectionality, oftentimes what they imagine is that you are stacking identities on top of each other. That's not what is happening. What is happening is that you are creating a new meaning. So I'm going to introduce two new terms, and I don't know, some of you might know them. The first one is misogynoir. Misogynoir deals with the misogyny, the anti-Black racism, and the sexism that is affecting Black women or people that read as Black women. And it's very particular to Black women. Then the other term is transmisogynoir. Transmisogynoir is dealing with the oppression at the intersection of cis sexism, or the belief that the gender expression of cis people is more valid than that of trans people, and the transmisia, or the hatred of trans people, and then misogyny and anti-Black racism. and that oppression is very particular to trans feminine and trans women, trans Black women and trans feminine Black women. So with that, and I really wanted you to get this concept because it will help you understand why the data that is, when we look at the data on intersectionality, why it looks like that. And finally, intersectionality centers the margins. You cannot talk about intersectionality without looking at marginalized identities. So when it comes to intersectionality, the margins are Black women, the margins are Black trans women or trans feminine people. Those are the people that matter more when it comes to intersectionality. So I'm sorry, there was something wrong with the slides. So I hope you were able to understand what I'm trying to get to. So now let's talk about intersectionality and health. And I'm really hoping that these slides are much better. So when it comes to intersectionality and health, there's a lot of data, but for the sake of time, and because this is a current situation that we are living through right now, I'm going to talk about intersectionality and reproductive health. I don't know what's happening with these slides. This is interesting. Can I get some help here? There's something wrong with the slide. They're not in, like, some of them are missing. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's very important that we see the data. I'm sorry for this short interruption, but I do feel that it's important that we see the data.
Do you have a version that you can forward?
Yeah.
I was wondering if we didn't have the most recent
I think
version.
I sent the most recent version. So Emily, here is the version that has, yeah, that's me. Okay. Yes. Yes, this is the version that I have. It has everything.
That she's pulled up, Bruce can bring it up, but she wants you to look just to make sure it's the
Yes,
right one.
it's the, it's,
Just was emailed to her.
yes, no, that was, yeah, I emailed to her.
It's the correct.
It's the correct one, the latest versions.
You want to take a look at it, or that's.
That's the right version. I know the data. Yes, I want to make sure.
I turned your microphone off.
Yes. Somehow something happened to the version.
I'm sorry, we should have checked this. We should have checked this.
No worries. Fortunately, this presentation is shorter than. All right, sorry. So thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for your patience. I wanted to make sure that we talked about the data because it's very important for you to understand what and how intersectionality functions when it comes to reproductive health. So when it comes to reproductive health, the first thing that we see is that in the United States, Black women are more likely to die from pregnancy and its complications than any other racial ethnic group. When you look at that graph there, the mortality rate for Black women is almost 3 times as high as that of white women. And the mortality rates from American Indian and Alaska Native women when it comes to pregnancy and its complication is almost 2 times as high. So we do see clear disparities there. And we see similar patterns when it comes to infant mortality. Black infants have a higher mortality rate than any other racial ethnic group. So the mortality rates when you compare Black infants to white infants is almost 2 times as high. And we see similar or disparities when it comes to American Indian and Alaska Native infants and Native Hawaiian infants. Now, if you look at the data with Asian and Pacific Islander infants, you see that they have a lower mortality. But remember what I told you about data disaggregation. When you look for a lot of these studies, when it comes to Asian Americans, the data is not disaggregated, which is masking the disparities and which is going to influence the policies that are related to infant and maternal mortality. This study really shook the world or shook science. Black women. In California, the data showed that poor Black women compared to rich Black women and white women had the highest infant mortality. However, the richest Black women in California had a higher infant mortality rate than the poorest white women. Money is not as protective for Black women or Black mothers. Remember when I told you that intersectionality creates a new reality? This is some of the things or one of the aspects of it. In fact, Beyonce and Serena Williams almost died during giving birth because of issues related to the healthcare system. But again, and I keep on saying that, we need to be able to speak and state things clearly. It is racism and sexism that is driving the higher maternal mortality rate for Black women. And this is not unique to the United States. We see similar data in Brazil. We see similar data in the UK. Something is happening there. Medicine and biomedical research have played an active role in creating and sustaining misogynoir. Remember misogynoir, the oppression that Black women face. Marion Sims, the father of gynecology, was known to operate on enslaved women without anesthesia because he believed that Black people could not feel pain. And that belief is still present till this day when it comes to the treatment of Black pain. Henrietta Lacks. Without Henrietta Lacks, modern medicine and modern science would not be what it is today. But her cells were taken without her consent. And it was not until last year, only last year, her family was able to reach some type of settlement. And when we look at research on Black transmasculine and gender diverse birthing people, it is extremely limited. And that erasure is increasing marginalization and is also increasing the risk of adverse pregnancy outcomes. And that erasure is contributing to the perpetuation of sexism, racism, and transphobia in medicine and biomedical research. So as physicians, as researchers, we are playing a key role in maintaining this system that is putting Black people, Black women, trans Black women, trans masculine, trans feminine Black people at risk. So now that I've talked about intersectionality and health, and I've introduced what is happening in medicine, let's talk about intersectionality in medicine and sciences. Black women are underrepresented in STEM and medicine. So Black women make up 7% of the American population, and only 1% of doctoral degree holders in STEM are Black women. Only 4.3% of medical students in the United States, even when we look at the disparities, the inequities, are Black women. And only 2.7% of physicians in this country are Black women. Let's talk about academic medicine. Women are already underrepresented. So in 2018, 46% of assistant professors were women, and only 25% were full professors. Now, when you break down the data by race and gender, women of color are underrepresented. So I know the data can be, it's a lot because it's a lot of people that they looked at, but let's talk about Black women, and Black women are in red. When you look at women assistant professors in the United States, only 3% of them are Black women. And then when you look at Latina women, what you do see here, it's only 5.8% of them are full-time professors. So when you look at full professors, the data is even worse. So only 2.8% of full professors are Black women, and only 3% are of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin. And so you have a problem here. We have a problem with recruitment, and we have a problem with retention. Something is happening here. And so which brings me to, I've talked about intersectionality. I've talked about the inequities when it comes to health. I've talked about what is happening in STEM and academic medicine. So why does it matter? Why does intersectionality matter to life sciences and medicine? Health inequities cannot be eliminated without implementing systemic and intersectional solutions in academic medicine, sciences, and the healthcare system. Focusing on a single axis of oppression leads to erasure. Erasure leads to marginalization. Marginalization increases disparities. If we want to change things, it is very important for institutions to acknowledge intersectional marginalized identities, but also acknowledge how systems of oppression operate intersectionally. And when you do that, it's good to acknowledge things, but it is also good to start implementing systemic and intersectional solutions. Scientific innovation. Time and time again, the data is showing that scientific innovation depends on the diversity of people in the room. But what is happening here is that we don't see that diversity. And one of the clearest example, like one of the current examples that we see right now is with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is being used more and more in higher ed education, medical discovery, treatment, diagnosis. So if we fail to take an intersectional look at the data that we receive when it comes to people, and if we fail to include people who have at the intersectionality of multiple marginalized identities, what is going to happen is that these health disparities, and it is a very pressing matter, these health disparities are going to get worse. And then finally, this. We are connected. Dr. Martin Luther King said it better. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. And we saw that with the COVID-19 pandemic. Because policies at the beginning of the pandemic ignored the most marginalized, all of us suffered. And the other thing is reproductive justice. The state of reproductive rights in the United States is what it is right now because we ignored what was happening to marginalized women and gender diverse people, what was happening to their rights. When people lose their rights, when a community, a marginalized community lose their rights, or when you see health inequities, eventually those inequities are going to affect all of us. And I apologize for what happened with the presentation, but I'm going to leave you with this quote. If Black women were free, it will mean that everyone else will have to be free, since our freedom would necessitate the destruction of all systems of oppression. And this quote is from the Combahee River Collective. And it was a collective of Black lesbian feminists in the 70s. And that collective really set the groundwork for Professor Kimberly Crenshaw's work on intersectionality. So again, I apologize for the presentation. And this is the end of my slideshow. Please feel free to ask questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamin Mukaz, for a really enlightening and I think challenging talk. I hope everyone feels a little bit uncomfortable in the room. That's the right feeling to have. We're happy to take questions for a few moments. I see Dr. Leonard has her hand up.
Hi. Thank you very much for a very interesting and challenging presentation. You've been around UVM, Larner College of Medicine, and the health system here long enough to, what are the systemic things that we need to change? Are there specific policies? Maybe this is too targeted a question, but I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm one for action. And you've described the problem, but what is it we need to do?
This is it's a huge question. And we had a discussion in the room before I came here. I think you want to start with something small, the community that we have here in Vermont. We have Black women, we have trans Black women, we have migrant women. What do you do when it comes to their healthcare? How do you treat them within the healthcare system? Do you have policies that make sure that they are well treated when they go to the hospital? I'm just thinking about myself and previous interactions outside of UVM when it came to dealing with physicians. Those interactions matter. And in order for them to work well, you have to have policies. You cannot just rely on people to do the right thing. You have to have policies when it comes to the language that people use, when it comes to the way that people are treated. And that's just one thing that can be done.
Just make sure that. Can we just, Liz, I just want to make sure we get a microphone so that the folks on Zoom can also hear.
Okay, speaking as the only Black female tenured full professor in this entire institution, make sure that this young investigator gets tenure and is promoted to professor. That's what I would say to start right now.
Thank you. So I'm Mary Cushman. I'm Dr. Kamin Mukaz's mentor, and I can hardly contain myself because I'm so proud of her. And we are currently converting her to the tenure track because of the way she was hired. So if you're on the RPT committee, or you have the provost's ear, please put that word in for her. It's not going to be a problem. My question, it goes broader than Vermont. What are we supposed to do with what's going on in our country when we have states in our country and leaders in our country who say women don't matter, women shouldn't work? There's this person in North Carolina running for governor who says things like that, who says the Holocaust is hogwash. How can we make change when we are faced with those kinds of public discourse, as well as policies being instituted right today in states in the United States that are prohibiting things like programs on DEI that are supposed to help us address some of the things you're talking about? So imagine in Vermont, if we were not allowed to even have this discussion we're having today, what can we do?
This is such a good question because we talked about it. It's you have to understand the reason why this is happening. Like oppression, systems of oppression work because of the need is power and resources. And what you are witnessing is a need to go back to the status quo. And people, when it comes to these type of situations, you have to be able, the first thing that you have to be able is to work on yourself, really. You have to be able to understand how you as a person is participating in these systems and you as a person is being harmed by these systems. The other thing is within your own community. Like the way that this thing happened was in schools. People went into their schools and they had conversations about banning books. So if they can do that within small communities, you can do the same thing within your own community. And the other thing also is centering the margins. The reason why we are here right now is because we ignored what was happening to trans people. It did not start with DEI, it did not start with academia, it started with trans people. If we ignore the margins, people will come for us. So I think that's the biggest thing that you can do. You have to be there for people who have more marginalization than you. So.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Eileen, and I was struck by the slide that had the statistic that of the very few Black women who actually make it into medical school, it seemed that roughly only half of those actually make it into the profession.
Yeah.
So that being the case, can you, being somebody who's made it through, can you talk a little bit about what you would recommend supports be to increase those numbers?
Yeah, I can speak for myself. And I think the reality that is happening with medicine is also happening in life sciences. When it comes to support, two things matter: money and then the way that you treat people. I appreciate Mary Cushman because she went beyond the work or the confines of what you usually would see a mentor do for somebody. I felt supported that way. It also the treatment of people. People leave medicine and life sciences because of the way they are treated. I talked at the beginning of my talk, I mentioned trauma. I mentioned how you are made to feel like you don't belong in a space, how people are pushing you out. there has to be, you have to have policies in place to make sure that people are accountable, that people are not feeling as though they don't belong into a space. And again, oftentimes these are more personal things, but there are also systemic things that happen when it comes to to support. You know, there are things that don't take into account people's cultures, people's backgrounds, and how they navigate the world. You have to be able to understand that the way that people operate in medicine and in life sciences is going to be affected by the background. You have to make sure we have a specific culture, like the culture that exists in academia and in medicine is oftentimes and at times not conducive to, it goes against the culture of people that exist on the margins. So how do you change the culture in the institution to make sure that it is welcoming of everybody?
Other questions from the audience? If you're on Zoom, you can use the QA function in order to ask questions. This has been a really wonderful discussion. I think it's the beginning of a discussion. I also want to touch on something that I think you mentioned here and that we also talked about this morning, which is that developing community is a huge way to understand one another and also to, I'm trying to work on my language around this because what I want to say is combat. And I want to come away from that sort of militaristic language, but a way to interact with and turn around some of that anti that you're talking about, Dr.
Yeah.
Cushman.
And definitely when it comes to community, and this is a conversation that we had, when it comes to community, the community itself has to be based on love, accountability, and all of these different things. Academia is a community. The way that we treat our mentees, people who are under us or who work for us, that matters. That's how you change the world. It's really, when I talk about the personal work, that personal work is going to matter when it comes to your relationships with your mentees. And those mentees will also treat other people the way that you treated them. So this is just one of the many ways you can change the culture in academia and medicine.
So with that, I'm going to close this portion and say thank you so much, Dr. Kamin Mukaz, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your experience, for getting personal, and for challenging all of us. So we're going to move on to the awards portion of our afternoon, and we just need Dr. Joe Conant to come to the podium, and we also need to switch over to the other slideshow. So give us 1 second.
Hey, Emily. All right,
Awesome.
perfect.
All right, is the mic? Oh, it is on. Perfect. Excellent. So it is now my pleasure to move on into the awards ceremony portion of the celebration. Bestowing of awards serves multiple purposes in academic medicine. Not only does it call out the achievements and contributions of individuals, but it also broadcasts the individual's presence to a wider audience and is a signifier of the regional, national, and international reputation of the individual. The nominees received for the Gender Equity Awards, all of whom are listed in your program, it's on the back page, if you flip that page over, were stellar. It is truly a testament to the talent and commitment we have among us. Ultimately, the awards committee created a slate of nominees, and Dean Page had the difficult job of selecting the honorees. Presenting awards today alongside Dean Tracy are Dr. Carr, Professor of Pharmacology and the 2023 recipients of the Polaris Award, and Dr. Katanga, Assistant Professor of Cardiology and member of the Gender Equity Steering Committee, and the 2023 recipient of the Rising Star Award. Would you two like to come up and join us?
Thank you, Dr. Conant. The first award is the Gender Equity Champion Award. Equity and inclusion are inextricably linked to the UVM Larner College of Medicine's mission of education, research, and patient care. In recognition of that mission, many college faculty, staff, students, and trainees are actively engaged in championing equity and inclusion in multiple local, regional, and global settings. This award recognizes Larner College of Medicine community members, faculty, staff, and students who have demonstrated outstanding commitment and service to the advancement of women and gender diverse populations beyond the scope of their job, area of research, or training. This year, due to exceptional nominations, a faculty and a student award are being bestowed.
Our first recipient is Dr. Jennifer Hall. Dr. Hall's nominator notes her many accomplishments in gender equity. Dr. Hall has served as chaired the Vermont Women in Psychiatry since 2019. This program promotes collegiality and supports women in psychiatry across the state. It also provides resources and education on gender equity. She has served on the LCOM Gender Equity Steering Committee Education Work Group as a faculty representative since 2020. She's on the Psychiatry Department DEI Committee as well, and is the go-to resource for gender equity in the department. She is also a member of the Women's Interest Group of the American Association of Geriatric Psychiatry. And on top of all of this, she also serves as an ambassador for the Brave Enough program, which supports professional women, has conducted a specific promotion workshop for women in psychiatry, and has also served as a mentor on the mindfulness at the Brave Enough Conference in 2022, and has been a part of the Women in Medicine and Science Peer Leadership Group. Overall, Dr. Hall is a superb advocate for gender equity in the department, the region, and her profession. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Jennifer Hall.
So thank you so much for this incredible honor and award. And specifically, I want to thank Rob Altoff and the Department of Psychiatry for nominating me, as it's been a big passion of mine, and certainly doing work within the sphere of gender equity is what fills my cup every single day. So thank you. It's my pleasure to announce the second Gender Equity Champion Award for 2024, and it goes to Nikki Parsa, who is part of the LCOM class of 2025. Their nominator, a fellow medical student, speaks to their advocacy for gender equity in medical education. The nominator notes, Nikki's eloquence and gregarious nature has made them an incredible liaison and arbitrator. The project that they spearheaded as a member of the AAMC Organization of Student Representatives was called Metacognitive Approach to Gender and Sex in a Medical School Curriculum. This project was presented at the AAMC Learn, Serve, Lead National Conference and then published in the Journal of Medical Education and Curricular Development. In addition, Nikki founded and leads the Queer Health Student Interest Group, has created a pronoun workshop in the Sims Center, runs a newsletter about sex and gender in medicine, as well as runs a sex and gender journal club, and organizes a faculty panel with family medicine and OB-GYN on gender affirming care, and serves as a mentor to 3 separate non-binary medical students in the years below them. Outside of LCOM, the list of accomplishments becomes impossible to fit in a 250-word nomination form. But I would be remiss if I did not reflect on the multi-year project they ran with 20 families with trans youth children and the incredible impact the study has had. Beyond their accomplishments, Nikki is kind and selfless. And please join me in congratulating Nikki Parsa.
Thank you. This is very generous and humbling. The state of affairs for trans people often feels very discouraging, but importantly, I grow more resilient as I meet more amazing people at UVM that remind me that people care about gender disparities and want to collaborate on minimizing them. And I'm in very inspiring company. It was especially wonderful to hear this afternoon about how Black feminist scholarship is at the foundations of intersectionality, and each modern movement for social justice owes so much to scholars like Patricia Hill Collins and Kimberly Crenshaw and the Combahee River Collective and their predecessors. Engaging with this is a practice that collectively improves our world and also improves the rigor of our practice of science and medicine. And I'm grateful to learn doctoring at an institution that platforms voices like Dr. Kamin Mukaz. This is really great. Thank you.
The next award is the Gender Equity Outstanding Achievement in Medicine and Science Award. This award is given to a woman or gender diverse faculty member within the Larner College of Medicine who has demonstrated outstanding achievement in medicine and science through research, education, or service. Additionally, this individual must be recognized at a national and/or international level for their scientific medical achievements and serve as a role model to women or gender diverse community members at the Larner College of Medicine. Finally, awardees will have demonstrated a commitment to advancing equity and inclusion for women and gender diverse community members.
The 2024 Gender Equity Outstanding Achievement in Medicine and Science goes to Dr. Sarah Schlein. Dr. Schlein is a specialist in wilderness medicine. Dr. Schlein's nominator notes, Dr. Schlein chairs the Women in Wilderness Medicine Committee, a section of the Wilderness Medicine Society. In this role, she has created opportunities for mentorship for women members, supported women in wilderness CME conferences and events and travel, developed programs to promote leadership and academic success with scholarship opportunities and advancement pathways in the field. She's also created and maintained a Women's Speakers Bureau and reviewed the State of Wilderness Medicine Society for gender equity issues and addressed those issues with advocacy as well as specialty statements. She has authored the Wilderness Medicine Society Conference's Diversity and Inclusion Policy, as well as 3 gender-related peer-reviewed publications since 2022, including first authorship on one specifically related to gender equity in membership, leadership, and award recognition, and one on gender distribution in scholarly authorship. She developed the Women in Wilderness Medicine Research Working Group, specifically designed to support junior faculty and institutions internationally in research and writing. And finally, Dr. Schlein helps lead the Women in Wilderness Medicine Leadership Training Program, which began in 2020 to support leadership and career development and to provide a place for innovation and ideas, including topics of equity and inclusion, and for which she was awarded the National Wilderness Medicine Society ICE-AX Award in 2021. Please congratulate Dr. Schlein for this accomplishment.
All right, so I get the mic and I see a lot of familiar faces, so bear with me while I make a few remarks. Thank you for your kind words, and also just to the whole committee to recognize the important work that all of us are doing in the gender equity sphere. I have infinite gratitude and humility standing up here. And it's really important to me to take a moment to acknowledge my leaders, my mentors, and most importantly, my mentees. Dr. Harrington Ramsey, I want to thank you so much for supporting my far-fetched ideas to do all these extra trainings in wilderness medicine, to go to countless conferences, and even more importantly, support me subspecializing in wilderness and environmental medicine. There are no words to describe the amount of support that I've received, which is true for other faculty as well, financially funding, but also the time and the encouragement to follow our visions and our dreams through our prior division and our Department of Emergency Medicine. I also want to give enormous thanks to what the Wilderness Medical Society as an entity has done to bolster and support my own career. If I had not had the support to attend conferences and make connections and find mentors, we would have not been able to achieve the incredible strides that we've made for women and really all genders across the field in wilderness medicine. I specifically want to give a huge thanks to my own mentor and co-author, Linda Keys. Linda is the former president of the Wilderness Medical Society and an editor for Annals of Emergency Medicine. And Linda has a leadership philosophy that she takes from, she really, that comes from the history of Black women, which is to like bring and lift those with us as we climb. And Linda encapsulates that, and that's what I have very much tried to do in my own career. And when I connected with her, it resonated so much that if everything that we do in our career as faculty, we are bringing mentees along with us, that becomes the most fulfilling part of our job. I have so much thankfulness for Dean Tracy, for Dean Page, for just giving me the opportunity to be faculty and to serve in this community for our students, because it is our mentees by far that have had the greatest impact on my own career and my own work. When I am writing a paper and going through edits for the 15th time, but I have a medical student with me or a resident with me who has this incredible just like appreciation for medicine and this zest for life, it makes it fun. But even what I have found the most meaningful is the conversations that happen afterward or in between about how do we live a meaningful life and how do we live our best lives in the like waves of practicing and training in medicine, which is not always easy, right? But to be there for our mentors. And I loved, we already talked about that today, how important it is to be the people for our mentors that we would want them to be for their future mentees. So with that, I want to leave us with the idea that let your work be part of the solution. So when you have a project, bring in learners with you and make sure they have a seat at the table, and then pause and stop talking and really listen and see them for who they are. And I think that is how we fix the leaky pipeline and make the future better and brighter for all of us. Thank you.
We will now present the Polaris Award for Outstanding Mentorship. Polaris, or the North Star, is anchored at due north, while the remainder of the northern sky rotates around it and serves as a beacon and directional point for those finding their way on a journey. The Polaris Award honors a Larner College of Medicine faculty or staff member who provides outstanding formal or informal mentorship for Larner College of Medicine, women, and/or gender diverse community members.
The 2024 Polaris Award goes to Dr. Rebecca Wilcox. Unfortunately, Dr. Wilcox cannot be with us today, but we are wholeheartedly honoring her remarkable achievements and contributions to gender equity. Her nomination statement reads, "I can't imagine a more deserving person to be recognized for their commitment to mentorship and advocacy for others. Dr. Wilcox has demonstrated a long track record of formal and informal mentorship to a wide variety of women and gender diverse community members. Going backwards in time, she is now the Associate Dean for Faculty Affairs. She is a perfect fit for this position and where she truly is thriving in supporting and advocating for the advancement of faculty. Prior to this role, she was the Vice Chair for Education in the Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine, where she developed a faculty promotion mentorship program, which pairs a faculty member who is starting the promotion process with a mentor whom can support them through this process, breaking down barriers and building support and a scaffold for people during the process. She has also been the course director for NMGI and has mentored numerous medical students, residents, as well as junior faculty along the way. As her CV demonstrates, she's had a long-standing commitment to mentorship and is well recognized for her continued education and supporting numerous awards. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Rebecca Wilcox.
So Rebecca couldn't be here because she is taking care of herself and her family, which is what we encourage in our department, and she mentors others to do the same. As the 2020 recipient of this award, I couldn't be prouder that one of my faculty is now the recipient of this award. And it's very nice. Thank you. I'll just.
The final award today is the Rising Star Emerging Professional Award. This award recognizes a woman or gender diverse faculty or staff member of the Larner College of Medicine who is in the early stage of their career and who demonstrates excellence in contributions to students, colleagues, and/or the institution in the areas of gender equity and inclusion through service, program development, teaching, research, or beyond. The awardee also shows the promise for future contributions and leadership in their field, as well as in achieving goals for the advancement of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This year, due to exceptional nominations, 2 faculty awards are being bestowed.
The first 2024 Rising Star Award goes to Anya Jakella. Her nomination statement reads, Dr. Jakella, Assistant Professor of Family Medicine, has demonstrated excellence in contributions to learners, peer faculty, staff, and those outside the institution through her leadership, education, and scholarship in the area of gender-affirming care. Dr. Jakella is the recipient of the Family Medicine Scholarship Gender Affirming Care Collaboration, improving community awareness and patient experiences through a medical home for gender diversity. This interprofessional grant enhances gender-affirming care for older teens and adults in the primary care medical home, as well as community awareness of resources for gender-affirming care. She helped implement a clinic-based training for family medicine in fostering a gender-diverse, friendly clinical environment, incorporating patient perspectives into the training, helping to break down barriers to care for gender-diverse patients in our primary medical care homes. Dr. Jakella has led the development of a statewide gender-affirming care task force, which brings together a wide variety of providers and care team members from across the state to work on important issues in gender-affirming care. Even early in her career, Dr. Jakella has led the task force with grace, maturity, and commitment. In 2023, she was recognized by the Women and Gender Equity Center with the Outstanding Faculty Award for significant contributions to gender equity at UVM. Her work has truly had an impact on gender-affirming care and gender equity for our patients, her colleagues, and many others beyond the walls of our institution. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Jakella.
Thank you. This is truly an honor. It's also a great opportunity to thank all the people who are in this room today who gave me lectures when I was sitting probably there behind Dr. Schlein, maybe 10 or so years ago. So it's really a time warp here. I feel especially grateful to be called out after our really meaningful discussion just an hour ago about touching on some of the most fundamental challenges facing our country today. And to be highlighted as potentially a tiny minuscule part of making our community better really feels like an honor. I'm set up by a lot of fantastic mentors that I think has been a theme of this hour as well. I particularly want to highlight mentorship from Dr. Laura McCrae, who has a way of really building people up and setting them up for success without letting on that that's part of the intention. So I hope for a mentor like her for every new faculty. I'm also really grateful to be practicing in a state like Vermont, where doing the work that brings me joy feels like a normal day of work, as opposed to some, security risk that it could be in another part of our country. I'm grateful to the Department of Family Medicine that has just embraced gender affirming care as part of primary care. And yes, we should make this available to everyone and, really invite all patients into our practice. And then also to my clinic, Dr. Reisman, Brian Shedd, for being nimble with all my requests to, get in the patients that I really want to see and have on my panel, even though we're, closed. And so anyhow, a lot of thanks, but appreciate the moment to also just highlight the importance of gender care in our community. And I appreciate this platform, as many people have said.
The second 2024 Rising Star Award goes to Dr. Karine Sakayan. Dr. Karine Sakayan recently began her career as an assistant professor on the clinical scholar pathway with the Department of Radiology in July 2022, where she quickly stepped into the roles of Vice Chair of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, as well as Departmental DEI Co-Champion for Radiology. She has already made significant contributions to our department and institutions. Most notably, Dr. Sakayan has created and implemented new elective for third and fourth year medical students as an initiative to bring underrepresented students to Vermont. Accepted students would travel, have accommodations and meals covered for them for the duration of their rotation. She's organizing our next diversity grand round speaker that will focus on changing the workforce with a particular emphasis on gender diversity. Dr. Sakayan was awarded the Excellence in Promoting Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion by the Department of Radiology in 2023. She has also shown great strides for the advancement of DEI within our department, UVMMC, and the university. I have no doubts that she will enhance the DEI for all, as well as provide valuable opportunities for underrepresented students. On a personal level, Dr. Sakayan is widely regarded with the Department of Radiology as being a steward, advocate, and role model for equitable treatment for all members of the radiology team. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Karine Sakayan.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here and receive this award. First of all, I want to thank our radiology department chair, Dr. Kristen Distichter, for nominating me and providing supportive environment, encouraging promotion of culture of diversity in our department. I would also like to thank April Hederick. I'm very lucky to have her as my teammate on DEI, and she's very passionate and really committed to her role as a DEI champion. Also, I would like to thank Christine Boomer for her help and the entire radiology department for welcoming me, as I'm relatively new, and I hope together we will make our workplace better. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for spending a part of your afternoon with us and engaging in discussion and contemplation on gender equity and honoring our colleagues with these awards. It really means a lot to recognize the people within our community who are doing amazing work. And I think it stimulates others to follow suit. I would ask that the honorees please stay with us so that we can get a photograph together. Dean Tracy, if you have time, I'd love for you to be part of that too. Please stay in touch with the Gender Equity Initiative, join the listserv, look for emails that come out from the Dean's office. On April 10th? April 10th is our next Gender Equity Education Series event. It's on menopause in the workplace, and we're inviting Claire Hardy, who's a researcher from the UK, to speak with us. She's a real international expert on the topic, so please join us for that. Thank you and have a great afternoon.